It's World Social Media Day, and the term influencer certainly wasn't popular until the introduction of social media apps such as Instagram in the early 2010s. People, of course, many people across the world have left their regular 9-to-5 jobs to become influencers. Of course, you're watching a special broadcast of the AM Report, and my co-anchor Michelle Craig is at the University of Johannesburg for us. That's where the Social Media Summit is set to take place. And Michelle, I understand you're getting tips from one social media influencer who's risen through fame or to fame through her fashion.
Oh, you reckon I might have another job on the cards, Ayanda? Good morning. Great to see you and be back with our viewers this morning just after 8 o'clock. We're live here at UJ, the University of Johannesburg. This is the venue for, as you can see, the Social Media Summit for Government. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We can't talk social media without talking about influencers. So this morning we're joined by Tsiamo Modisane, who is a social media influencer. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you.
Good morning.
Am I introducing you correctly? You're a social media influencer?
Amongst other things, I'm also an actress, voiceover artist, and a radio personality.
Yeah.
So social media is part of the game.
When Ayanda did his introduction in studio, he said, you know, since the launch of Instagram in around 2010, the term social media influencer is a relatively new one.
Yeah.
We have seen sort of a whole range of people who were successful in their previous jobs actually leave their 9-to-5s and go full-time into the social media, shall we call it the social media space?
100%.
You're one of those people?
Yes, 100%. I think most of it was also influenced by the introduction of technology and just moving from traditional media, because I'm from a traditional media background, but I then had to migrate into using digital platforms to tell my story, you know, because at the end of the day we are storytellers. And I think if you look at it, at 2010 we had bloggers, you know, where you would write it down. Now we've gone into a point where the picture's worth 1,000 words. So if it's not on a picture and it's not on the gram, it didn't happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And for certain people, it has become a career. You know, it's launched many people internationally. You know, artists are now being discovered via TikTok, Twitter. You know, last week I was having a conversation with Donald and how his latest collaborations are all from people on Twitter and people who interact. He has now direct communication to his fans. You can now find out what people are thinking at the moment, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you talk about that level of access that social media brings us. And you and I were both talking about, you know, the era, shall we call it, that we come from, of perhaps magazines, right? Where that was the influencer of the day. You bought a magazine, you saw a popular trend or a popular person. But you had to go out and buy the magazine.
Yes.
Now, the magazine is at your fingertips 24/7.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's pros and cons to that. The pros is just like, it's easy to access. Yeah. So you have the reach, you know exactly. And, you know, in terms of monetary purposes, you're able to check how far, you know, the investment you made has gone to, what the ROIs are.
Right.
But when you look at it in the negative perspective, is the fact that now you have filters, you have distortion, you have young kids who are seeing the final product and not seeing the build-up of the work behind.
Not reality.
The reality. I mean, we're sitting here right now, but there's like a few people behind the camera in studio, everywhere else making sure that the picture comes together. On your phone, you don't see that. You know, you're just seeing Michelle looking good, and you just think it's easy, forgetting the training that you had to go through, the studies and whatever, you know what I mean? So it kind of loses the true essence of hard work and makes it look easy instead of, you know, being work at the end of the day. Because once you start taking it as a job, anyone who tells you they are a social media content creator, they will tell you how much work goes into creating a 30-second reel. Could take you more like 2 hours or if not a day to edit, you know?
So are influencers and content creators, and you were talking to me about the difference between those two phrases that we use sometimes interchangeably, but are they acutely aware of the impact that they can have? You know, when we were talking about magazines, that was the discussion back then, you know, that young women and girls have these ridiculous ideals that they're expected to live up to the models in magazines. As a social media influencer, is that something that you're acutely aware of? Who your audience is, the young women and girls that might be consuming what you're putting out there, and giving them a sense of the fact that I did not wake up like this.
100%. No, 100%. I think, you know, when we started, or when rather influencing became popular, it was a thing of just posting your favorite bags, and we had Pinterest, so you take from Pinterest and move here, and what, you know what I mean? And Tumblr and all those kind of things. But now the audience has become more authentic. There's a need for authentic stories. So if you really do not have the Gucci, don't put it up. You know, people want authenticity because that is what sells. That is what people relate to. You want to be able to bump into me, you know.
And recognize
me. Or even have a conversation to say, you know, you posted a certain thing. And more and more we're seeing it even with our celebrities. You know, when they are going through whatever the hard times they go through, they will put it up and be like, this is what's happening. And it just makes it more real and authentic and just, you know, human.
And social media users are definitely, they're not only yearning for that, they are now demanding it on 100%. Social media, and they are calling it out 100%. Where they don't see it. I want to just very quickly, as we wrap up our conversation, Tiamo, talk about the reach of social media. Because, you know, previously you may, as someone going out into a field like this 10 years ago, put a billboard, you and I were discussing, on William Nicol. You might just spend the money, put a billboard on social media, and hope that you get a reach of about 10,000 people. Now that reach is exponential.
It's global. I mean, you know, you using the same example, if you put a billboard on William Nicol, you actually cannot physically, you know, monetize
and quantify
who saw it. You don't know the demographics, you don't know their age, you don't know their location. But with social media, all those ticks, you know, and you now know, okay, my reach is 20 to 25, female, Cape Town based, or Limpopo, or, you know, Spain. There are people who, you could be living in Joburg, but your audience is in Paris. You know what I mean? It just gives you a broader, global, you're playing on a global stage instead of just the city or the town that you're in.
It opens up a whole new world. Tiamo Modisane, let me thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
She is a social media influencer. She's also an actress, and she occupies various other roles as well. Tiamo talking to us today as we mark World Social Media Day. We're here at UJ, Ayanda, for Social Media Summit for Government. It's the first of its kind, even though we've marked this day around the world for many, many years, but the first summit of its kind. And what government really is trying to do today is to try and engage its social media influence so far, its engagement with citizens. Of course, we've learned a lot of lessons out of COVID-19 and how we can launch into the next 10 years with all of the lessons we've learned, and how we can use social media and how government can benefit from that insofar as active citizenry is concerned. For now, it's back to you in studio.
So many different important aspects to this day. Michelle, Craig and the rest of the team. Live to us there from UJ. For now, thanks very much indeed.